Welcome back, crew. It's September, and that means we are diving into the Numenera Tabletop RPG as our new game of the month. Today, we're getting to my favorite part of learning any new system. We're going to show you step by step how to build a character in the Numenera RPG. So, if you're a player, you'll feel comfortable rocking up to the table with your brand new character, or if you're a GM, you'll feel comfortable talking your players through the process. And a quick shout out if you want more Numenera content, we are holding our live actual play of the system Tuesday, September 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we're going to put the system through its paces, show off its mechanics, show off what types of story this system can tell, as well as raffle off a free PDF copy of the core rulebook to one lucky viewer. So definitely make sure to click the link below, click notify me, and join the crew live so you get to see this system played out at the table. And if you're lucky, get a chance to bring it home for you and your crew. Yeah, let's dive into the character creation for this system. Overall, I would say it's probably light to medium difficult to build a character in the system. It's not too crazy. It's a fairly narrative system, so pretty straightforward. But it does have some pretty cool concepts that helps you link your character both to the starting adventure as well as to your fellow PCs. So definitely keep an eye out for those as we go through. But definitely some cool features there. So, with that, we're gonna go and hit the core stats and some of the features they interact with before we dive into the character creation process as a whole. We're gonna hit these at a pretty high level. Stay tuned for our mechanics video next week where we'll dive into these a little bit deeper. But some of the character creation processes and features heavily reference these. So I want to make sure you have an idea of what they do before we dive in. So, with Numenera, with the Cipher system as a whole, there are three core stats: might, intellect, and speed. With those stats, you're going to have a pool within them. This pool is going to be kind of a mixture of both your HP as well as your resources that you can spend to either make checks less difficult or to be able to use cool special features within that stat. So you have those three different pools you'll keep track of, making sure to you take damage or if you use a cool ability to minus them out of that pool. With that as well, there's two other features I want to make sure you're aware of: edges and effort. Edges are basically going to help you reduce the amount of points that you have to spend to utilize an ability within one of those three core stats. And then effort is basically where you're able to spend points of your pool to be able to make something easier or to be able to use a cool ability. So just keep those in mind as we go through and build out our character. So the next big thing that we're going to look at is one of my favorite pieces for the Numenera system as a whole. Is it has you kind of go through and ask a question about who your PC is, and there's like three different components of it. Because at the end of it, you'll be able to say, "I am a blank blank who does blank." So it's a noun, an adjective, and a verb. And what that is, we're going to give to set the example. We're going to go through and give a little bit of who our PC will be. I wanted to build going into the system with Numenera being such a cool sci fantasy world set billions of years in the future with like this ever prevalent nanotechnology that some people are able to tap into and manipulate it almost like magic. I thought it'd be cool to kind of steer away from my usual martial tendencies and build a nano who's going to be able to manipulate those pieces of technology in a magic like. So that's who our guy is going to be, and we'll give our guy's sentence. So our guy, Akellan, is a learned nano who rides the lightning. So there's three pieces there. The class, the noun, is one of them. You also have an adjective, which is your character descriptor. Our guy was learned. And you also have the focus, was for our guy was ride the lightning. Both the class, the character descriptor, as well as the focus, give different benefits as well as different manners to link yourself to both the story and the party. And we'll go through as we go through the steps and showing you how those fit in. But this is a cool thing, I think. It helps you frame your character in in kind of the lore of the world, as well as a fun piece for introducing your PC. Because it's evocative, it gives like different pieces for what you should hopefully have your character build reflect. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into our class itself. So there's three core classes within the Numenera core rulebook. The Nana, which we're going to be going through, the Spellcaster class, the glaive, which is more of a martial class, and then the jack, which is a little bit of a blend of both, kind of a jack of all trades, as they described him. There's also in the Numenera Destiny book a couple more classes, but for this one, we're just going to focus on the nano. So with this, it gives a whole lot of cool information on how to build your nano into the world itself, your role within the group, some cool artwork. But we're going to go dive right into the core mechanics. And the first thing you get to decide with your character is what their background will be. So there's three backgrounds for the Nano: the Forbidden Knowledge, Psionics, as well as Plug and Play. The Forbidden Knowledge is the one that stood out to me. Basically, it just allows you to understand more of the kind of the Numenera, this technology than anyone else does. You're one of the few that knows that there's satellites and kind of how everything interconnects to a deeper level of understanding than most around you do. So we're going to be able to do that. And we're going to have access to the data sphere, and it's going to give some different pieces on how you advance within with your background. But now that we've got that, the next big piece is we're going to go through and build our Nanos connection to the world. So this can give a background element that you can go through and flesh out for your PC. So we rolled a 14, which is basically our guy. Callum had worked in the gardens for an influential noble. The noble doesn't remember us, but we made a connection with her young daughter. And if I was going to be a player in a campaign, I'd go through and build out with my GM kind of what that connection was, who the young daughter was, who the noble was. So we have a cool starting point for our background. But after we've got that, we've got our background, we've got our connection. The next big thing that we're going to look at is the nano players intrusions. We're going to do a really heavy dive into intrusions once we get into our how the mechanics video works. But they're very cool, and each of the classes have three different intrusions that you can bring to bear. So we'll pick on one of them. We'll go with convenient glimmer. So we could spend this XP, and we'll go with how XP works in our mechanics video. And as long as the Game Master agrees, we basically got to get information from one of the glimmers, providing a clear answer or a suggestion of course of action with regards to one urgent question, problem, or obstacle you're facing. So basically, all of these intrusions give a little bit of a narrative control to the PC. You've got to work with the game master, but allows you to do some cool things and have that just a little extra push when it comes to the narrative. But now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to go through and determine a lot of our key pieces for our nano. So you see with the system, as we mentioned, you have the stat pools. Nano starting value started with 7 in might, 9 in speed, and then 12 in intellect. With that, you also have 6 points that you can spend to bump up your scores. So I wanted them to be very, very smart. So we're just putting 4 of our points into intellect. We're giving 2 of our points to speed, and we're keeping might the same. So you'll know we'll have a very small might pool. So anything that's physical can hurt us pretty easily. If we burn using too much physical abilities, that's going to hurt. But for intellect, we can kind of burn those all day and still have a decent bit left over, hopefully. So now that we have that, we're going to go in and see what our first tier with Nano gets you. And to speak of tiers, you have tiers 1 through 6 within the Numenera or Cipher system. To just give you a setting for this, even a tier 1 character is usually pretty fleshed out, pretty extraordinary in their role. So this isn't one of those you're going from zero to hero. This one you're already starting off pretty adept. It's not, there's a phrase in the Numenera system, getting to the end of the tiers or the end of the levels isn't the main goal for this system. Just a little bit of a heads up on the system design as we go through. But with this, as our first tier, we get a lot of cool stuff. So the first one is we get is our effort is 1. So we'll go into effort a little bit more in our next video. But that's how much effort you can put into either decreasing your difficulty for a roll or using some of the other pieces that effort can do, like extra damage, etc. We're a genius, so we have a intellect edge of 1 with a 0 for the other two stats. So what that means is anytime we spend something for intellect, we can take 1 point off of the total cost. We're expert cipher users, so we can bear 3 ciphers at a time. And ciphers are these single-use kind of magic items that you could utilize to, or technological items that you could use to do cool effects. For our weapons, we can use light weapons without penalty. But we're an ability to utilize medium weapons and heavy weapons, and our stats will also, or our attacks will also be hindered if we try to use those. It will go into an inability and hindered in the next video. Our skills, we're going to be trained in the understanding of Numenera. So with skills that decrease your difficulty level when that comes into play. And we'll start off with some clothing, a weapon, a book about Numenera, three ciphers either chosen for you by your GM, as well as an oddity by your GM, or you can go with the default starting ciphers and oddity, depending on what you and your game master are picking for that system. Uh, After that, you're going to go through and pick your best stories. I probably butchered that. But basically, these are like your technological magic that you can bring to bear with your character. You get to pick two of these for your tier. So with our guy, I wanted him to have hedge magic and onslaught. Onslaught's going to be something that plays pretty cool with the Rides Lightning feature. We'll touch on that as we go. Basically, Onslaught's going to be an attack that allows us to do either physical or mental damage to a PC. And then Hedge Magic is kind of like some tricks you can do. You can change the color of something, or the basic appearance, or cause something to float through the air, or clean an area. It's basically like prestidigitation, but in the system. Now, cool thing on this side is you saw we have edges, edge one for intellect. Both of these cost intellect to cast, but they both cost intellect of one. So basically, we can cast these without using anything from our dice pool, which I thought was pretty cool. As for our guy, Ekalon being able to effortlessly manipulate the nanomachines around him. But now we've built out our nano aspect. We're going to be going and diving into our character descriptor. So for our guy, that was learned. And what the character descriptor is going to do is it's going to give you a couple of big things. It's going to give you an increase to one of your stats. You typically plus two. So with our guy, we'll show what learned gets you. It also is going to give you additional skills as well as an ability and the cool thing with it too is it also gives you a starting link to your adventure as well as some items. So let's go ahead and pick our guy. We pick Learned. So let's see what we get for our PC. So with this, you see that we get plus two to intellect. So if you remember, we had a 16 to start, so we'll have 18 after this. We're going to be skilled in three areas of our choice. If I was going through, I'd kind of look in different knowledge areas that would just really flip out or fill out Kellen's kind of background there, and I'll show you one of the skill pages as we go through. Inability. So our guy's gonna have bad social graces. Anytime a task involves charm, persuasion, we're gonna have a hindrance to it. With that as well, we'll have additional equipments, two books on the topic of our choice that'll help us bring down skill checks if we need to. And then we'll have a starting link to the adventure. So we get to choose one of these from the list of options. And for our guy, we're going to go through and say one of the other PCs asked us to come along because of our advanced knowledge on a topic. So I'll be working with the PCs on that side to figure out which would probably invite us, and we could flesh that out in our session zero or before our first session starts, just so we can have some cool RP already or links built in for the RP. So now that we've got that, so we've got two of our questions answered. So we're learned, that's our adjective. We're a nano, our noun. The last big piece is to go through is our verb or the focus. So let's dive into that one. This is usually where it gives you some pretty cool aspects. So the focus is one that you'll need to work with your game master and as well as your fellow players for this one, because this is one where it can only be one here. You can't have multiple bearers of the halo of fire. This is one whoever calls it first gets to utilize, or however your game master wants to set that up. But you can't have multiples with the same focus. And usually these give some really cool descriptors and some really cool lore pieces for your characters. So it's definitely one that you'll want to make sure that you're the only one who's able to do it. So now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to go through and find ours. So I thought Ride of the Lightning was cool. It really fits into Kellon being able to manipulate these nano machines in a manner that people haven't seen before. His manipulation is going to be tinged with lightning. Gives some descriptors for his clothes too. They look a little more lightning-esque. But it gives a couple of big things there. So with this, we're gonna kind of bounce around. So the first thing we get for tier one is we get shock, which allows us to add either additional damage to a weapon or to inflict 3 points of damage next time we touch someone for the cost of one intellect point. Remember, we've got edge though, so 0 intellect points. Or you get the charge ability, which allows you to charge up an artifact or other device so it can be used once more. So pretty cool effects on that side. It gives you some additional equipment. We're going to get a bag of batteries and power cells that we could potentially use to power new devices at about 75% chance that the bag will contain one that'll power the device if it depletes. So very likely on that side. We've got electrical abilities. You see it manipulator changes our onslaught. So our force blast, instead of being force, is now a blast of lightning. It also even gives some minor effect suggestions if needed, as well as major effect suggestions too. And now the cool thing with this too is it gives us a connection to one of the other PCs as well. So we're going to go through one or more because we chose two for this one. So we're going to pick two other PCs so you know about an important connection between the two of them that even they don't know about. So this would be one we can collaborate with those PCs or the character or the players behind those PCs to develop something fun that'll be interesting for the story. Or you can even develop just with the game master itself, just to make sure that working to build something fun that'll be something that will enhance a narrative and be fun to discover later down the line. But as you see, we've gone through and we built our PC. We've got a learned nano who's able to ride the lightning. And that's pretty much it. So the character creation process is fairly straightforward. You could go through and select some of the different equipment options, which we didn't go in with this. But it's quick, it's easy, and it allows you to build some pretty cool ties to both your players as well as the adventure that you're going on. So definitely shout out in the comments some of your favorite features about the Numenera system. And make sure you come by September 24th, which is a Tuesday. We're mixing it up. I know Thursdays is our usual game of the month day. This month we're rolling it on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So join us and get your chance to win a free PDF copy of the system. Overall, thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned to us this weekend. We've got a couple more videos coming out, both for catching up on the Fallout TTRPG, and we're going to be building a character utilizing the new Daggerheart playtest. So stay tuned, and thanks for hanging out.